Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Waynesboro at Work, a podcast where we talk to entrepreneurs and business owners from Waynesboro, Virginia. I'm your host, Brooke Anderson, and I am so excited to be joined today by Katie Harris, who is the owner of Adorn, a boutique in Waynesboro, Virginia. Katie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brooke.
Yes. So for folks that aren't familiar with Adorn, tell us what it's all about and what makes it special as a boutique.
Sure. So Adorn is a woman-owned boutique in downtown Waynesboro. I specialize in small batch production clothing. So what that means is the bulk of my clothes, I get line sheets and color samples. So I get to pick and choose and kind of custom curate different pieces that I'll carry so that you'll have a very unique wardrobe. But I do that with lines that I've been wearing for about 15, 20 years.
Wow.
So these are all things that I know last, that I know make me feel confident and comfortable, and that allow me to do all the different aspects of my jobs and my previous jobs that I needed to do, but also look presentable. I
Yes.
pair that with some other lines. I have some Free People Movement, some Toad & Co., and some packed wear. So I really focus on clothes that are going to be comfortable and that are going to be as much as possible sustainable, and just things that you're going to be able to wear in transition between casual and be able to dress up a little bit more too. In addition to clothes, I also carry shoes and jewelry, and all the jewelry is by local women artists that are around, so I get to highlight that. And then some accessories too, so bags and other things that are made by women that are right here in the surrounding areas of Waynesboro.
Wow, I have so many questions from what you just said, but the first one I want to ask is, where did your passion come from for doing this?
Yeah, so I mean, I've always dreamed of owning my own business, and particularly owning a boutique. My previous hats, or my previous professions, I worked for a long time at the Virginia Institute of Autism. So I worked with children with severe autism, and I worked in a couple different roles there. A lot of the time was spent working one-on-one with children. So that could involve being on the ground and playing, or teaching food skills, working in their homes. But I also had to go out into the community and give presentations and help lead workshops and things like that. So I needed to be able to have clothes that I could feel confident and comfortable doing my actual task of the education piece, but then also feel presentable at an IEP meeting, etc. And after VIA, I moved over to the Blue Ridge Area Food Bank, and I ran mobile food pantries. So yet again, another job that I needed to have a lot of flexibility in my wardrobe, but then I would meet with other community leaders and things. And so I didn't want to feel too casual. So for those professions, I often had to look outside of Waynesboro to find the clothes that I really wanted, and that would work for what I particularly needed. So I would travel, and I had a favorite boutique about 7 hours away down near my in-laws. And so I just started really learning more about the brands that she carried. And I would travel sometimes to Richmond to find the pieces that I knew were a little bit closer, in Harrisonburg when there was a place up there. And then the other piece to my story, and what made me really want to have something like this in Waynesboro, is I have struggled with my weight for, 25 years. So my weight fluctuates constantly. And when you're a professional and you're trying to build a wardrobe that works, it's really difficult to try to get ready for work, and then it's just not fitting anymore. And those feelings of frustrations of wanting to feel confident, but then feeling deflated in some ways. So the lines that I carry all have the ability to work with a fluctuating weight, and they just hang a little differently, but they don't not fit any longer.
Right.
I know personally that, especially working in nonprofits and such, perhaps your wardrobe budget is limited. So you really want to find pieces that you can mix and match, but that you're also going to be able to wear for a long term. Does that make
Absolutely.
sense? Yeah.
Absolutely. I think so many people can relate to fluctuating weight and the frustration of trying to find things that fit. And like you said, then you outgrow things, and then,
Yeah.
so there's that piece of it that I think is so great. And then, like you mentioned, the sustainability piece. And I don't know about you, but I feel like there's been kind of a movement when it comes to clothes, and like kind of quality over quantity per se,
Yeah.
um, and making our wardrobes more sustainable. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. One of the big things, I have a lot of folks that are regular customers. So they'll come in every few weeks or so and not necessarily always buy something, but they always want to they're looking for what is missing in my current wardrobe.
Yes.
So I've actually, I'm tickled about this, but folks have asked me into their own homes to look at what they already have. And then
Yes.
we like go through that and figure out what is making you still feel good and what is no longer serving you, or is something that's just not going to perhaps ever fit again. And that's okay. But I don't, encouraging folks not to have that reminder so that there's upset
Yes.
or frustration. The other piece to the sustainability is that I encourage folks to bring in clothes from home that are their favorite pieces, but they perhaps don't know how to style it any longer, or they want some new things to mix and match with. So I'll have women call and make an appointment, and then they'll come in with 5, 6, 7 pieces of clothes. And then we go around the shop and we figure out, okay, this piece here in my shop is going to work with 4 of your different pieces that you already have. And so all of a sudden, you're adding just a few quality long-term pieces that are going to last that you can incorporate into what you already have. So really working hard with people to figure out what is the best way to maximize my wardrobe, and maximize that money that I'm spending and investing in these quality clothes.
Right. That is so great because then you end up with more of a curated closet
Yeah.
that's more grab and go, to fit your lifestyle, or like you said, if you're in a professional environment, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. And the beauty of a lot of the lines that I carry, they're really not faddish per se, in like the
Yes.
typical term of what's popular or hip or on trend currently, but they're long-term styles. And
Yes.
then that way, the nice part to that is that several of these lines, they carry the same cut of shirt or pant season after season, but they're done in different materials or different colors or different prints. And that way, once I find out, oh, this particular person really enjoys this particular cut, then I know for ordering purposes, okay, they would like this and a few other basics that would work well with what they have. And so that way it becomes very personalized, and they're pieces that they know I love how it washes and wears again. I love how it holds up. I love how it feels and looks on me. And they can feel really confident in building something slowly, that's going to be something long term.
Yes, absolutely. And I imagine you also potentially encounter people who there's a deeper meaning to dressing well or feeling better in your clothes. It's
Yeah,
not just about the physical piece, but it's about what it can do to you, in terms of your confidence and things like that.
yeah.
Have you had experiences like that in the
Oh,
boutique?
for sure. I have a lot of women that come. I have a lot of women that come from pretty far away regularly, which is really, I feel very honored that they choose to continue to come back and make a concerted effort to get to Waynesboro to come and spend time and to look around. But I have a lot of women that are getting back into professions after COVID, where they're having to go and speak again in public, which is something that they had gotten kind of out of the habit of. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of anxiety that's going into that. And so we talk a lot about when I am or they're wearing clothes that fit and they feel comfortable in, then they can simply focus on the task of whatever their profession is or whatever it is that they're taking part in. And then that way it takes out I'm not pulling on things, or I'm not
Yes.
feeling self-conscious about things. And so wearing clothes that make you feel confident, that you feel good in, it allows you to just focus on the other pieces instead of worrying constantly.
Nice. Yes, absolutely. So switching gears a little bit more to the nuts and bolts of the business side of things, how did you decide on Waynesboro as the place that you wanted to have your boutique?
So my family and I moved to Waynesboro a little over 18 years ago now, and I spent, a good 16, 17 years of that commuting to Charlottesville.
Uh,
So when I decided that I really wanted to do this, it was kind of a no-brainer that it was going to be here, because a big piece of my opening my own business was that I wanted to be more present for my family.
mhm.
When I was commuting all the time, I was leaving before my kids got ready for school oftentimes, and I was missing a lot of these key pieces because of the commute time. And so for me, this is a quality of life, having it here in town. It's also, I did a lot of data with my past profession. So there's a lot of data available on the Waynesboro websites and such when I was looking at, the option of starting a business
Yeah.
here. And I was able to really see the gaps in what is available here, and also the population, like where folks were kind of falling into just the pieces about like household incomes and education levels and different things like that. And I knew that here in Waynesboro, it's been much better lately. We've opened quite a few boutiques downtown, but for a long time, it was just a desert of sorts for people that were looking for unique clothing options. And so I figured, I can't be the only one that's having to go elsewhere. And so it worked for me for quality of life for my own family. It seemed to fit a need and a gap in the community, what was already here and what was missing. And then we got really lucky because Waynesboro offered a lot of wonderful programs for me as someone who had never ever owned a business, dreamed of it, but never really done anything proactive about it. So when I really kind of had that light bulb moment and said, okay, I'm doing this. And my husband looked at me and said, I'm so glad, kind of thing. Because I always knew it was going to happen. It wasn't an if, it was a when situation. It kind of seemed like the puzzle pieces started falling into place. And so for me, Waynesboro had a wonderful 8-week program that I was able to take part in. Waynesboro offered a lot of opportunities for grants, which was very attractive to me. Being in nonprofits all my life, I know that grants are a wonderful opportunity for folks, regardless of the size of your business or your organization. So I saw that, thought about it, and then I started looking at places to rent. And an opportunity landed for us to purchase the building we're in. And so for us as a family, we wanted to invest in our city. And so now I'm a business owner and we own a building downtown. And so I feel extremely tied to our community and the success of our community and in a lot of ways now. And that to me is really exciting.
Yes, absolutely. And you spoke about a lot of the resources that Waynesboro offers.
Yeah.
Can you speak to the 8-week program and how that really helped you launch the business?
Sure. So the 8-week program was extremely convenient. It was right here in my neighborhood, so I had no excuse not to get there every time. But what I liked about it was each week had a different theme. And so for someone new to a business or starting one, it not necessarily, it didn't give all of the answers, but it certainly gave a good starting point, and it gave you enough to kind of wet your whistle and figure out, okay, so I can do this, and I can also, if I need help, I have a list of resources now that I can approach. And so for me, I like to find answers. So having that class and then having that additional list of, okay, for further information, go here. It provided a really nice blueprint for me to follow.
Yes.
The classes were terrific because it was just a multitude of people in different professions and in different, they were all in different perhaps chapters of their own journeys. And so it was nice to be able to connect with people that were on different, that were at different places on it and ask questions and learn together. And then for me, it's been terrific because I've maintained several of those friendships. And now we're small business owners in our first year together.
Yes.
That's really important to be able to check in with one another and to be transparent about, oh, is this okay? Am I doing okay? Should I be concerned? And to have folks that you went through that process with, it was really nice. It was a good place to start. And with that said too, I think that it really opened up the communication lines with me and downtown. And so I am not afraid to ask about grants, or I'm not afraid if I don't see something that's available currently to speak up and say, as a local business owner, as someone that owns a building downtown, these are things that would be helpful.
Yes.
And so I feel very empowered to speak up. And so, yeah.
Yes, those are great points, and I think the ability to have other people that are going through the same thing you're going through
Yeah.
is very underestimated when it comes to something that can be as stressful as entrepreneurship. Even if your business is going perfectly, there's still some inherent stress there, and to be able to reach out to people that know what you're going through, I think is sometimes very underestimated when it comes to that. And then, like you said, feeling empowered to be able to ask questions of, the city about, business and other things, I think is so important. What other lessons or advice would you give to someone that is, you a little bit before now, who's on their long commute, but dreaming of a different kind of scenario for themselves and potentially wanting to start a business? What advice would you have for them?
So I think for me personally, one of the big things was, I think I mentioned that I was looking for a quality of life for
Yeah.
myself. I wanted to be able to kind of set the rules. So when you're thinking about a business that you want to start, making sure before you go any further than the initial thought process, okay, what needs to happen in this business for me to want to stay in this particular business long term? So, what are the things that are going to need to line up and to happen that are going to make me want to stay invested in this year after year? So, for me, it was the proximity, the closeness to my home. It was also the hours. I wanted to make sure that I was maximizing my time with my family, but then also having myself be available enough to make it be a functioning, pretty successful business, if that
Right.
makes sense. The other pieces to that would be staying strong to your mission. So figuring out exactly what it is you're wanting. There's a lot of folks that you come up with an idea and they want to share some things that they think you should do differently or maybe should change. And that is wonderful. I appreciate feedback. I like to have that communication, but also remembering at the end of the day, you're the one that's running it. And if it's changes that are going to cause you to have undue upset or stress, that's going to, in the long term, be something you're going to regret. I don't know that that's a wise step to just bend, bend, bend.
Yeah.
For me, one of the pieces to that, I don't do online sales.
Mm.
And that was a really big piece because I knew that I wanted to be fully present and like absolutely adore the conversations I have with my clients. I
Mhm.
encourage folks to be open and honest and vulnerable even,
Yeah.
in their conversations about what they're looking for, struggles that they're having so that we can help address that with through as silly as it sounds, but wardrobes or different pieces like that. Um,
Yes.
but for me, having an online business is just not something that I want to do right now.
Mhm.
And I didn't want to start something and then say, nope, I don't want that. So I would encourage folks to just really first and foremost think about what that business needs to do to fit into what your immediate goals are. And then I think the other piece to it is really doing your research. Like I said, there's so much information that's available online through the city websites for data. So really taking a hard look, making sure that your business idea fits the needs of the community you're going into.
Mhm.
Um, and then really taking besides that, some anecdotal data about what are people wanting and what are you hearing again and again is missing.
Yes.
Because we don't need to reinvent the wheel or have three boutiques that are exactly the same. We
Yeah.
want to have variety and diversity. And so how do I fill it? How do I fill a gap in a really unique way?
Yes, I think that is all wonderful advice and comprehensive advice. Um, I think, a couple things that stand out to me is you kind of mentioned what equates to like the pace of your business, because I think as an entrepreneur, it can be so easy to all of a sudden, you're opening a boutique, but like you said, you can start chasing these other things, but is that the right timing? And it can be difficult.
Well, and I think my background as an educator and
Yeah.
someone who designed programs that had benchmarks and
Right.
a nice long continuum of this is where I'm starting, here is where I want to end. I can't
Yes.
go from here to here. Like
Yes.
that's going to cause me just unnecessary stress and upset. But
Right.
if I can give myself benchmarks that I know, at 6 months I want to do this or I want to add this, and at 9 months I want to do this, and give myself the grace that okay, I don't have to have it all perfect right now, but I need to be looking at the long term for where I'm going towards and how do I make choices in the short term that support that and that are guiding me and heading me in the direction that I want to end in.
Yes. I was reading something the other day about entrepreneurship, and it said, to your point about mission, decide what your mission is and say no to everything else. Because it can be very easy to start saying yes to everything, and then suddenly you're way off track.
Yeah,
Like,
it's really a slippery slope.
it is a slippery slope. Absolutely. Yes. So thank you for that. Great advice. So what is upcoming for Adorn? Is there anything that you would like the audience to know about or to highlight?
Well, like I said, I have a website that'll be rolling out, and so I have people can let me know on social media or through a notebook that I have at the shop if they want to be part of that um, email listserv so that they'll hear
Okay.
about dates. One of the things that I'm most proud of at work is that I've got just, I think I mentioned it earlier, lots of local women artists and business owners that I partner with. And
Yes.
pop-ups on a regular basis. One of the ones that well, we've done two pretty regularly now. We've done one that I partner with Derriere de Soie in Charlotte.
Mhm.
It's a bra and lingerie shop. I know personally, I have not been able to find bras around here.
Yes.
And I kept hearing again and again, other folks here did not have access to that or had never had a bra fitting. And Megan over at Derriere de Soie, she's the owner there. I'd reached out to her and she's been terrific. So she sets up appointments. We open the shop usually on a Sunday when I'm not typically open, but that works for a lot of folks that are working women in the area. And so she'll bring bras over in all of the sizes they think they are. And then we do bra fittings and folks are able to walk away with 2, 3 bras when they haven't had access to a bra fitting or to bras like hers. So that's been really fun. And we will do that again and again because it's something that is needed.
Yes.
We've offered a friend, Nina, and she helps me out at the shop sometimes. She is a photographer in town. And so when she did my headshots, I started talking to other folks and realized that headshots can be a little cost prohibitive. And if you're starting a new business and you're really working hard at pinching those pennies and figuring out how to make all this work, a headshot sometimes doesn't make the top or make the cut for the first things you do. So with Nina, we work hard to do $50 headshots. You get 15 minutes. You wear any clothes in the shop you want, so you don't have to stress about having an outfit in. And then I've had women that are starting their own business or perhaps have gone through a lot of changes physically and they want something that better reflects their current look.
Mhm.
And so those have been a blast. And then we do pop-ups so that local folks can meet the different artists at the jewelry's there. And for each of those pop-ups and those different events, I don't take any percentage of that. It is just to highlight these other local women that are in town. And I really, I stress that with folks because I don't want them to think that this is necessarily a money, this is a service based that I'm
Mhm.
trying to really promote here. And I want to just connect other women to the services and the talent that's really out there because I feel like sometimes it's hard when you're a smaller business or you're somewhere locally, located outside of this valley area to have people know about you and hear about you. So um,
That's wonderful. I can see your nonprofit background shining through.
I really try to have my ears like, and when somebody mentions something else, I perk up and I think, okay, so who can I connect to that will fill that gap? I have a lot of folks that travel all the time. And so
Mm.
I'm looking at, okay, what connections can I make with different travel companies that could help teach us how to pack better? So thinking about like, I'm trying to do some creative problem solving about certain little spots that I'm not going to be able to keep in shop. I can't keep a whole store full of lingerie or bras, but I can certainly bring that over.
Right. Absolutely. I think that's such a great idea and great service. And then also like solving real world problems, talking about things like bra fittings, which every woman should should have one. But again, accessibility can be an issue. So like you're solving actual issues that women are facing as well. And I love that.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for talking with us about everything that is going on over at Adorn. Um, how can folks find you, keep up with you? What are your socials, and what are the hours of the store?
Sure. So Adorn is located at 141 North Wayne Avenue in downtown Waynesboro. If you've ever been downtown, it's across from French Press, right beside Pyramid, and right 2 doors down from the River Burger Bar. I have Facebook and Instagram. Adorn Waynesboro. If you put that in there, you'll be able to find me and then follow along. And then, like I said, I have a website that's coming out, and then I'll have a mailing list for that as well. So any of those ways is great. My hours are Tuesdays through Saturdays, 11 a.m. till 6 p.m. With that said, sometimes I will have a pop-up on Sunday. I try to advertise that well in advance and let you know if that's going to be happening. And then honestly, like silly stuff happens. Like last year we had a bunch of snow days, and I know that a lot of people aren't out on snow days, but I put my phone number up on the door and I go sledding with my kids, and I've had people call and I meet them up there in my snow clothes and we do whatever. They shop. So I really try to be open and accessible around things like that too.
Okay, that is wonderful. My last question for you, and I love to ask this of businesses who kind of have unique names. How did you pick your name for your business?
Well, I really this is silly, but my background is I was a studio art major, and so I'm also a calligrapher, and I love lettering. And so there were certain letters that I absolutely love, A being one of them. And so I was really trying hard to find a word that incorporated that. And then I started thinking about it. I'm not looking to change anybody's look or their personal style. I'm just trying to add and enhance to that. And so when you think of the word adorn, adorn means to add something to help enhance the beauty that's already there. And so adorn to me means finding those little pieces that help enhance whatever your personal style is or your look is, and that make you just feel more put together.
Nice. Lovely. Well, I think that is a lovely way to end. Thank you again for being here. And for everybody watching or listening on Spotify or one of our other podcast channels, make sure you tune in to the additional episodes that we'll be launching of Waynesboro at Work. You can also find more information about business in Waynesboro by visiting visitwaynesboro.com or waynesborobusiness.com. Check out the Visit Waynesboro YouTube channel for the video episodes of Waynesboro at Work. You can get us as a podcast episode again on Spotify or any of your regular podcast channels. You can also read a story about Adorn and Katie and her journey on the Grow Waynesboro website. So those are all the ways that you can keep up with entrepreneurs in Waynesboro, Virginia. And of course, we want you to head on down and visit Adorn in person. There is nothing that beats the in-person experience there. So thank you for tuning in. Until next time, be safe and stay well.